Hi, I'm Norah O'Donnell, and this is Person to Person. Our guest today is Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore became a household name 40 years ago, starring as Gertie in E.T.
Give me a break.
I'm so in love with you.
And since then, she's been in dozens of movies and TV shows, earning herself a Golden Globe for Best Actress.
I'll need a clause in my contract that lets me do roles in other movies.
And 2 Emmy nominations. Now she's also an entrepreneur with a number of product lines, a New York Times best-selling author,
Please welcome Drew Barrymore.
and a talk show host. She just kicked off the 3rd season of The Drew Barrymore Show. And Drew joins us for an intimate person-to-person conversation from her dressing room in New York City. Drew Barrymore, welcome to Person. It's so good to see you.
Nora, I love getting to see you. Every time we see each other, it's just, a bit of a love fest, and I admire you. I'm with you every night, like everyone else, watching you. And I'm just so excited to be here having this conversation.
Oh, well, I love talking to you. I love being around you. You are like the sun. You just emanate brightness and warmth in everything you do.
That's what I love about watching you, is that you dare to put your exclamation mark of your reaction and your feelings on these stories, and it's very informative and calming to see the humanity in what you do. And then you bring those extraordinary stories, at the end of the show, and I feel like that last quarter is really about like the hope and the functionality and the good people out there. We have to have that. I love watching the news. I'm a news junkie, but I also need to know the good, because I don't think human beings function really well with just hearing the hard stuff. We've got to have the sugar with the medicine. And for me, that's, not just about a sweetness, it's about the reality that there is such good things happening.
I do. I call our show Hard News with Heart. And the heart to me is really important, because the news is sometimes difficult, but there are so many examples of people who care deeply about their communities, about their families, and trying to make the world a better place.
I know, and just, it's funny how one day you may not know about this particular person, and the next day you do, and your life is forever changed. Like, they've entered your universe and your sphere, and you hold them dearly. And that is such an important thing about human interest, is I am interested in human beings. Whenever I have really difficult moments, I will definitely sort of come to my knees or pray or ask questions to the universe. And every time I get an answer, it'll always be like, we're here to take care of each other, or I love people. And I'm like, those are my answers? That is so not dark. I'm so relieved. Good, okay, great. I can work with this.
So congratulations on season 3 of The Drew Barrymore Show. What have you learned, and how do you want to use this season?
I've learned a lot. Coming into the show in September of 2020 was such an unprecedented time to, obviously launch a talk show, but it was just, such a bigger, more important time to focus outward and change the rules a little bit, because the world was asking us to think differently. I wanted to make that applicable to the show, but I was nervous. It was a nervous time, even though I've been in this business, so to speak, my whole life. It doesn't mean you're equipped to start a new job and know exactly what to do. There are so many learning curves in a job like this. But I'm such a curious person, as are we all, and boy, does a job like this satiate curiosity. You get to learn about everything all day, every day, and that for me is the life I wanted to live. I think I've played characters, and I've been a part of storytelling my whole life, which was not just satisfactory, it was a dream and a blessing. But I think this chapter right now has been a lot about how do you live a life that isn't just necessarily fiction. I think right now I'm a mom, and I'm in my mid to late 40s, and I have a lot of things that are a huge priority for me to figure out in my real life. And this job is so perfect for that chapter. It's a dream.
What are you trying to figure out?
Behavior, how we react, what the effects of that reaction can be, how we process things, how we do take care of each other, how we grow up. I don't think growing up is overrated at all. I really like it. A lot of ways I grew up as an adult, so there are things that I'm learning, like how to raise kids and what boundaries are, and those kinds of things were not in my world as a kid. My life was very open. My mom and I, we went out to the clubs. I didn't really go to school. I was paying the rent since I was 11 months old. And so as much as that was so awesome and I would never change a thing, I had a lot of things to figure out that I didn't know. And I love what's happening in the real world. That's why we have this segment called Drew's News, because like you, I aim to find those stories out there where you can find out interesting things about people in the world, or things that are happening that are really positive. And we need that.
Yeah, because we're all in a process of kind of learning and discovery. But I love that the tagline for it is serving the news sunny side up. That is so great. And you're going to turn it into a podcast, I understand.
Yes, and I never expected that this would go in the direction. When we shot the pilot for this hopeful would-be show, it was in August of 2019. So we did not have a crystal ball. We did not know where the world was going. But I felt like with social media and this sort of equalizer of how everybody is able to put themselves out there and how we're able to process our information, that we needed to make a different type of show. I also find like sometimes back in the day before social media, it was hard to find the good news stories. They were sort of buried underneath, deep in the newspaper or tiny little columns. And I think the way our world works now with social media, with digital, we are learning that people do crave that information and they want it. So we're making it more and more available for them. This is such a relief to me because it shows that people's curiosity are not only in the harsh realities or simply the morbid. It's like, nope, they want good news too. And we need that.
Yeah, I know that you highlight that, and we certainly do too at the end of our broadcast. And throughout it too, we have a whole series called American Innovation about people who are doing things that are innovative and hopeful, whether it's science or business, whatever it may be. So do you have some guests that you're looking forward to having this season, or the must-have guests that you haven't been able to book yet?
It's funny that you said innovation and business and science. When I'm reading the newspaper, I find the business section to be sometimes extremely optimistic because there's some really good, important information in there that's going to affect and change people's lives for the better. And that's the section it's put in. And so you're so right. News doesn't just have to be about the facts. It can be informational and let people know these things are happening. You should know about this. Information is power. So as far as guests, when we first started the show, I told our casting director, I was like, no one's ever coming to this show. No, we don't know what it is. It's a tough time. It's September of 2020. I don't expect anyone to show up. Cut to a few years later, and George Clooney just said yes to coming on the show. We're talking to Katy Perry, who I not only love and admire, but I get to say to her, when I was going through a divorce and a move across the country and trying to change jobs and pick a new career path that would keep me at home more with my kids, we sang Roar, and we felt like empowered girls rather than, you know, the lost souls that we could have. And I want to make things personal. Idris and his wife Sabrina, the Elbas, I want to ask them, like, how do you navigate having a company together while having a marriage? Like, how do you pick your times in which to choose to talk about work or shut it down? How does that function? And do comedy with them. And my ex-boyfriend, Justin Long, is coming on, and I love exploring the behavior, again, of how we champion the people of our past, what our relationships become. We're all in a relationship of some sort, a boss, a coworker, a brother, a mother, a lover. We're all trying to figure out how to work and live amongst each other in like vibrant, healthy, humorous ways. I just want to try and speak to as many different types of people. Life is a mood board, and I want to really speak to a lot of different curiosities and things that we all have inside of us. We're not just one thing. No one's one note. We are so riddled with variety and diversity, and we need to know and think and figure out so many things. How do we indulge all of the spices that we all are? We're such a strange mosaic human beings.
I love that. Life is a mood board. All right, Drew, stand by, because when we come back, we'll talk to Drew about her experience singing in the rain. And we're back with Drew Barrymore. One of my favorite videos that you posted this summer was dancing in the rain. You were dancing in the rain, and you encouraged people to do the same. Every time it rained this summer, I thought, I need to go out there and post a video, but people will think I'm silly because I'm not Drew Barrymore. But I thought that capturing of just the joy of doing something as fun as that, and of course it went viral.
Whenever you can go out into the rain, do not miss the opportunity!
What was the reaction you got from it?
I had no idea that anyone would ever notice it, you know? Just didn't really expect anything to ever come out of that video. But every time I do see the rain, I do try to run out in it, and I try to worry about the aftermath afterwards. My hair's gonna be wet and curly. I gotta go back to work. What am I gonna do with these wet clothes? You know, we can talk ourselves out of things so fast that it stops us from doing them. And there's a great Isaac Dennison quote that says, "There's nothing that can't be cured by salt water, sweat, tears, and the ocean." And I do think of that kind of elemental shift that something like walking out into the rain for a little bit would do to you. It's gonna snap you into a different sphere very quickly. And sometimes we need that shift. That's a part of staying unstuck, is not overthinking things. And believe me, I'm definitely guilty of overthinking things sometimes. But the rain is a good reminder to not do that and just leap before you look.
That's excellent advice, because I think a lot of mothers overthink. I know I certainly overthink way too much, and I probably need to let it go. You know, you're entering this third year of your show. Rolling Stone did this great piece on you, just kind of about what you've accomplished. I don't know if you've seen it, but they called you America's sweetheart. Isn't that lovely?
That's crazy and so nice. That's nice. That's such a nice term, a sweetheart. Who wouldn't want to be that? I feel like I'm a rebellious person. I like the heart. I'm such a work in progress. I think that is a title I feel comfortable giving myself, because it is so where I'm at. I'm so eager to do the work. It's so rewarding. And I find that I love seeing results. That to me is the great incentivizer. And when I work really hard on myself, I'm seeing really positive results. Time management, calmer reactions, different prioritizing, doing things that I would have thought was completely crazy when I was a kid, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I guess that's why they do things that way. You're gonna constantly evolve. And that's really good news, because that in its nature is gonna prove to you you don't have to stay stuck.
It's incredible all that you're doing when you talk about that. You really are an entrepreneur in so many ways. I mean, I think most of us know you from obviously your movies and everything you've done before in acting, but now the show. And then, of course, when I walk into CBS, there you are. There's your whole makeup line, your incredible kitchen products, loving that immersion blender. And it looks pretty too. I mean, looks great. I mean, how do you manage doing all of that?
Not well, not perfectly.
It's looking good to us. It's looking good.
It's messy, you know? In fact, I think part of why I wanted to create this line, Beautiful, was a way for me to have some type of wellness in my head and in my eyes and in my heart. Because when I see messes or cords or things that are more functional than aesthetic, I'm not sure it always evokes the most positive feelings. So I thought the pandemic was really evidence that we are going to live in our homes differently. Maybe even moving forward, we're going to work differently. Things won't go back exactly as they were. The water is out of the bottle. So I realized how much that we need a level of peace that wasn't there before. And could that even come in the form of things that you leave out on your countertop or interact with or are forced to look at every day? How can we start to move forward in like an Apple for women kind of way, that things are functional and they're attractive and they create some semblance of calm? That, for me, I love designing, and that became my North Star.
I love it. I love it. And when we come back, we'll ask Drew Barrymore about the best advice she's ever gotten. And we're back with Drew Barrymore, as promised. So, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
I do work with a therapist, and whenever I'm working with him or whenever I'm working on myself, I write things down and I write them on cards. And then what I do is I put those cards on the wall. And usually they're somewhat general enough to apply to different situations at different times. I'm trying to keep track of my lessons or my aha moments or my wisdoms or my breakthroughs so that I don't lose sight of them, and I can keep turning back to these walls and they don't just fall off into the ether. They're there when I need them.
So let me picture, I'm picturing this in my mind. Like, is it in your closet at home? Is it in your bathroom? And are they note cards? And give me an example of what one says.
Right out of the gate, you guessed it. It's in a tiny coat closet that I sacrificed for the greater spiritual good. And it's where I keep all the notes. And the wall is filling up, which is good news, because that means there's many lessons learned. But I know I can go in there and shut the door, and the walls are like here, but I have a 360 where I can look at all the notes, and they always help when I need them most.
Well, that's the takeaway for me, is that I'm going to start writing things down. I'm going to get some note cards and post them up about little things to remember, because for all of us, as you taught us, life is a work in progress. We're all on a journey. None of us are perfect. As I always say, the quality of your life is built on the quality of your relationships, and we can always make relationships better.
I love that so much. I've also started keeping a tiny moleskin notebook, and I keep a gratitude journal, and it's been so effective for me and my kids, because we'll spot people and things throughout the day, and they'll say, we need to put them in the gratitude journal. And it's shifted our perspective to make sure, like the notes in my little coat closet, that if we are looking out for these things and we document them somehow, they will just lock in and resonate and stay there in a different way, because we're being inundated by stuff all day long, every day. It's understandable how hard it is to keep track of things. So that little extra effort to keep track of things has been very helpful for me in the last few years.
Well, we're almost out of time, but the remarks by my daughter's headmistress was about a podcast that she had heard from a psychiatrist this summer on a long drive about the power of mindset and how you can address stress, anxiety, and everything by changing your mindset. And so what you just said about keeping those notes and the gratitude journal, you're gonna make me cry. So on this note, I love you. I can't wait to see you in person. Thanks for always just inspiring us, making us happy, and making us think more deeply about our lives.
I love you, Norah, so much. And there's plenty of access to stress. And I thank you for delivering all of the news that we need to know and doing it with humanity and heart. And it means so much to people. I tune into you every night. You know, you're my source of finding out everything. And I am calmed by that. I feel safe with you. I feel inspired by you. That is a big deal. And I'm just one of many people that you do that for. So thank you. And thank you for having me on this show. You know I love you. I'm just always happy to be near you.
Love you. Good luck. We'll see you soon. Take care.